Welcome to this week's Rogers McKee YouTube video. In this week's episode, we're looking at why it's important that you have a personal brand. Let's go. Welcome to this week's Rogers McKee YouTube video. So in this week's episode, this week's and next week's going to do a little bit of a mini-series on personal branding, why you should have one, and then how do you go about getting one, how do you generate a personal brand, build a personal brand. But to start with, I think it's important that you understand why you should have a personal brand, whether this be in sales or recruitment in general, or business, to be quite honest. There's 5 reasons here why I think you should build a personal brand. So the first one is that it adds or gives credibility. If you are seen in your industry as having a personal brand, being knowledgeable, being a go-to person in your industry or in your niche, it automatically gives you credibility. And clients are always looking, irrelevant of the sector, what is the risk of me giving you money? What's the risk of me using your services? And if you can reduce that risk by having an online presence or a personal brand, it reduces that risk, knocks it right down. The risk of them using your services is reduced. They're more comfortable and confident that if they use your services, again, whether that's recruitment or a different industry altogether, they're not going to be let down, they're going to be looked after, their money's safe, all these things that are reasons why people shouldn't buy from yourself. And following on from that, it forms trust. So if you are in your industry a go-to person for the media, if you're constantly putting information out online, if you're ever present and they're constantly seeing you wherever they're scrolling, it builds that trust. They know that you're there today. They know that you were there 5 years ago. They know that the likelihood is you're going to be there in 5 years. Again, it reduces that risk of them using you or your service as a potential client. You're visible. In any sector, you don't want to be the best kept secret. We're a recruitment agency. We provide construction staff. We provide facilities management staff. We provide business support staff. We want the world to know what we do. We don't want to be the best kept secret. We don't want to have people whispering about what we do. We want people shouting it from the rooftops. We want to be shouting it from the rooftops. You need to be visible in everything that you do. When you're successful, you need to be shouting about it. That's quite a questionable thing in the UK. We don't seem to want to allow people to shout and scream about the successes before we knock them down a peg or two. But you've got to be visible. People need to know that you exist. People need to know that your service exists. Otherwise, it's a constant battle trying to win business. The fourth thing is you get to talk to a wider audience. Having a personal brand will open doors. But let's start with LinkedIn. If you've got LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, whatever, and it's important that the social media platform that you use to try and start developing your personal brand is an area where where your clients or your potential clients would sit. But what's also important is that from that you're then going to get opportunities. So online, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever it might be, you're talking to a wider audience. When you're in recruitment or sales and you're picking up the phone, you're speaking one-to-one every time. So if you do 50 calls, 100 calls in a week, you've spoke to 50 or 100 people. Every time you put information out online through your personal brand, you're talking to a wider audience. But don't stop there. If you're in recruitment or again any other sector, are there trade shows that you can go and speak at? Are there industry awards that you can go and speak at, or industry events that you can go and speak at and be a part of? Because again, if you've got a room of 500 people all from your industry, if you're then talking to them, you're speaking to a wider audience, you're then speaking to 1 to 500. Part of the premise of me doing these videos is that I don't want to constantly be letting one person at a time know what we're doing. By getting these videos out there's consultants that may see this and think, do you know what that looks like? It's a great place to work. I'll get in touch with them directly. Potentially there's going to be clients that look at this and think they seem like the kind of company that we want to work with and get in touch directly. So this is what we would call leveraged work. I'm doing it once and the plan is that it'll keep working for me again and again. A speech at an industry event isn't necessarily leveraged work. However, it does get you speaking to a wider audience. It's not one-to-one all the time. You do the work and you speak into a room of 500 potential decision makers in your sector. And the last thing, which is vital in any sales role, any business, you begin to pull clients to you. So cold outreach is always going to be needed. You're constantly going to have to be reaching out to get new clients. But how much easier is it if they start coming to you? Because they've seen your content, because they've seen your personal brand, because they've heard about you through somebody else that may have gone to a networking event or an industry event that you've spoken at, and they get in touch with you. That's so much easier than constantly pushing for opportunities. So it starts to pull clients to you. It makes your job a hell of a lot easier to attract those new clients, which, let's be fair, we're all trying to do. So a little bit of a whistle-stop tour from me this week on why it's important that you build a personal brand. There's 5 points there that I think justify trying to build a personal brand, and in a lot of cases it's going to be pushing you out your comfort zone to do that, but for these reasons it's well worth it. Tune in next week. I'll explain how to build a personal brand, but that's it for this week. The only thing that I want to say now is if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do. We're trying to grow the subscriber base. We're trying to grow the channel. We want more people to see these videos. The YouTube algorithms love subscribers. So if you haven't yet done so, subscribe to the channel and we'll be back next week with another video.